go. Boom.
I've been trying to make you love me, but all these things I carry. Don't remember the rest of the lyrics. Someday. That definitely threw you for a loop. You didn't know I was doing that.
I didn't
one.
know you were going Kanye. No.
Yeah.
No idea.
Well, you didn't know I was going to go off Yay.
No idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Someday. I'm going to be honest. I watched this movie that we're doing tonight a month ago.
Okay. I watched it I watched part of it and then I finished it yesterday and today. I watched it in 3 parts. And honestly, I just felt the whole time like it is a very long movie. It's taking so long to get to the plot.
Yeah.
Like the last 30 minutes, totally cool, totally good. But man, building up was just painful.
I didn't think it was like that.
I did.
But I will say this much. I think in terms of carnal variables, Jimmy Stewart had none and Grace Kelly had all the carnal variables.
Is that the actress?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grace Kelly.
See, I'm not a big actress. Like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Who most actors and actresses are. So, I don't know who Grace Kelly is, unfortunately.
Grace Kelly was like the most attractive lady of that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what she was like
and also
rated as?
Yeah, she was like, I don't know do we have one of those today? Are we allowed to have one of those today?
I don't know. I feel like the last person that fit that criteria was like when people were like, "Oh, dude, Megan Fox."
Oh,
Transformers,
right.
Megan Fox.
Well, Hitchcock always liked blonde women. So he always went after any blonde girl. So if you look at all their movies like Vertigo, which we'll eventually do, or anything like that.
Well, I just thought
he always wanted blondes, but he also hated actors as well, notoriously. Yeah.
Here's my like raw thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Was going into it, I thought, dude, Alfred Hitchcock, it's in the top 100. This movie's got to be good. But in the back of my head, I remembered what you said. I said, hey, like, what did you think of it? And you said, it's okay. It's pretty good. And I thought,
That's a bad sign if I say that.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay with slow stuff.
I know. So I thought, okay, there's that component. But Alfred Hitchcock, man, it's got to be good. It's got to be eerie. It's got to be weird. And as soon as it started and I realized, oh, this is the guy in the wheelchair who's looking out his back window, looking at the neighbors. Yep. I thought Simpsons, the episode when Bart breaks his leg when they buy the pool, and then he spends the summer looking out his window, thinks Flanders murdered his wife, buried her in the backyard, and
he starts screaming like you hear a girl screaming, but it's really Ned Flanders.
Exactly. And then at the end of it, you realize, no, Maude wasn't dead. She was at Bible camp, and it wasn't actually a murder. I never knew what that was parodying until I started watching Rear Window, and I thought,
that gave you the joy.
This is it. So I thought, I was kind of stuck in my head the whole time thinking, well, how much of what The Simpsons did is going to be reflected in the actual movie? So I thought, well, if The Simpsons parodied that she's not really dead, it could also be that she's not really dead, but Alfred Hitchcock, I'm assuming she probably is dead. Plus, it's kind of the first of its kind of like the husband. It's a 1950s movie, so maybe there's not been a whole lot of movies surrounding like the husband actually killing his wife. So it's probably the beginnings of that. So he probably does actually kill her. And then knowing The Simpsons that he buried a plant. When he screamed, it was because he killed Maude's ficus and he buried it in the backyard.
Interesting.
And I thought, okay, the burying part, but I kept looking, and then the dog part, I thought...
The dog sniffed.
Yes.
And then the dog definitely... Okay, so biggest question.
Yeah.
Did the dog fall out of the basket, or did the guy kill the dog?
They said that the dog was strangled. That's what the person says when they run to the dog's, carcass, and they check it out and say, he's been strangled. So, strangling.
Can you even pretend to do that nowadays?
Strangle a dog? Not. And a lot of people don't, like, it's funny, like, all the neighbors come out.
Obviously no dog died.
No.
But you can't even pretend to do that.
No, you really can't. And what's funny is even the movie, all the neighbors come out and they're like, oh, this is what happened, a dog died? And then they're like, all right, well, back to the party. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's
But they didn't think
it's
a dog got
received with a lot of like lateness. No,
I
they know
sincerely-
they strangled because
No
he lets
way.
out. Yes, I just watched that
sincerely
part
believe,
this morning.
No way.
Yes.
You're saying that the people in the party knew a dog was strangled to death, and then they
Yes.
went and partied
Yes,
instead of dropped out of a basket. See, I would be like, yeah, we can continue the party. Accidents happen. A dog, fell off a apartment in New York. I don't think I can go back and party if I knew like my neighbor just strangled a dog. Maybe they're there in my party. A dog strangler is there in my party.
Oh, definitely. No, they knew. I mean, people gather in the courtyard, which, first off, just the idea that people are going to be that open with their windows and that this guy is going to not only sit in his window all day and look out and easily see what's going on, that people are going to, like, it felt very staged to me. I get it. It was staged. It was a movie. But it just, from the very beginning, I felt like this does not feel real. It feels kind of fake, and it feels a little bit too exposed. I know no AC, so of course you're going to have the windows open in the summer, but
Yeah.
it initially struck me as this feels a little bit fakey, a little staged.
Well, unless like people in New York, the vibe you get is that they like being watched.
Or what I wish that they would have done is that I wished he would have used the camera lens, like the extended lens or binoculars from the beginning, because then it would give you a feel like he's really far enough removed that he's only seeing this with tools. But from the very beginning,
he's like really close.
Yeah, exactly.
Bizarrely close.
Which makes me feel like it's staged, like a little bit. It's a little bit too up front in my face.
Well, like
I
how
immediately
how
feel
is
like,
he the
okay,
only
this
one
is a
looking?
movie.
It seems like he's the only one in the apartment complex that's looking at other people. Everyone else is like, I'm living my life. Oh my God, I have neighbors that live 60 feet away from me.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like not one person in that apartment complex ever had the idea to be like, oh, wow, there's people that are living right across from me, 60 feet away. There's like no one ever looked, really. I think maybe that ballet dancer looked. No,
I don't think she ever looks. No.
But she's like flaunting it.
I know.
in her window to Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
And that's the other issue I have, and I think we talked about this earlier, is the Jimmy Stewart has Grace Kelly, and he's like, she's too into me.
Dude,
like
he's
isn't
a terrible
that,
character.
Like, first of all, he has a slabby man body.
Oh my God!
he-
Yes,
like,
you
there's
get a full frontal view of Jimmy.
Jimmy
and
Stewart.
He is
Yeah, he's
very
like,
unattractive.
Dr. Cotter. Yeah. So, but he, I cannot believe Grace Kelly is with him.
No, me neither.
And then he's like, I don't give a shit.
No.
Like,
He's got like no redeemable quality to me. I thought he was
he's a piece of shit.
I had no association with him. Like, I could not relate or connect with this character, which I think lowered my interest in the movie, because I'm like,
I can't connect with this.
What's the redeeming factor?
Is this an anti-hero? Wait a second.
Weird.
No, he's just kind of a dude with a broken leg, and I'm happy he had a broken leg, to be honest.
Exactly.
Well, Grace Kelly is like with this reporter, first of all, who, like, again, if we're talking about carnal variables, this dude makes like no money, broken leg, like completely bedridden, and then you have Grace Kelly come in, and she's trying to charm him, and he's just like, I don't really care about you. And he's like, let me get my binoculars and look around, and oh God, there's Dr. Cotter. But yeah, he sucks.
Dude, he sucked.
not a
compelling character at all. Honestly, there was very, very, I don't know if there was anybody who was very compelling the whole movie. There was no, like,
I think Grace Kelly was cool.
She was the best character.
She was good.
But there was nobody else who I was like, oh, I can actually relate to this person or feel some sort of connection with them. Dude, the main Jimmy, oh my God, terrible.
Piece of shit.
Dude, it was, his character alone.
But let's be real. Like,
in a lot of ways.
But let's be real.
Okay, let's be real.
We can empathize. Like, if you're bedridden in New York City, the only thing I couldn't empathize with is, like, I'd feel too much shame.
What, spying?
Yeah, spying all day on people, and then like
no TV, no phone. I mean, this is your TV. Your TV is
my TV is other people. Why wouldn't you have TV?
Lives.
What is it? 1950s, 60s?
Yeah.
Is it 60s when this came out?
50s.
50s. There's definitely TV. I'm pretty sure there was a TV in his apartment, but whatever. He has some records. I don't know. But the main issue is that the fact that he didn't feel shame is more or less due to the part that no one in the apartment complex looked at him with his big ass binoculars and his thing.
Yeah. It's so hard to believe.
It's hard. That's the hardest part to believe.
No, another thing that's hard to believe is that the actual killer, I can't remember his name now. You remember his name?
I don't know. The guy across the apartment complex. The guy who strangled the dog by the daisies.
That even though Jimmy's peering out his window 24/7, he had enough time to dig up the smallest garden bed.
Oh, you can easily do that. You can do that if Jimmy's asleep. I keep forgetting his name. I don't even know his name. I just know it's Jimmy Stewart.
I just think the idea that he would actually try to plant his wife. Not only he would.
Is it his wife? Oh, yeah, it is his wife.
He killed her, buried her in that very, very shallow, narrow garden, which is very hard to believe because it's surrounded by all the apartments. So anybody could wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "Oh, wait, what? He's burying a human body." Plus,
I guess that is hard to believe in New York.
He also, because the dog was scratching, it prompted him to dig her back up and then move her again.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
Because he put her in a chest or something?
Well, the dog was scratching at that garden, so he killed the dog. And then at the very end, again, dude, there's so many issues of the movie. At the very, they like the classic, like the rising action, the climax, falling action, or whatever. The climax and falling action were like 2 minutes.
What do you think the climax was?
The climax was at the very end when Jimmy and him
when he showed up to his apartment.
He threatens him.
That was awesome.
He hangs him out the window.
I'm not gonna lie,
him.
that was terrifying.
It was.
When
he was flashing the bulbs at him. That was also very strange.
I was kind of a fan of that. Because it's supposed to blind him.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with your broken leg and you're a piece of shit? He has a gun, maybe. You're a piece of shit with a broken leg.
Also, maybe lock your door. There's no door locking.
He can't because he needs to allow the nurses and.
Yeah,
maybe New York City was very safe around then, and like there was like maybe 1 or 2 bad apples.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but it was
definitely unlocked while he's doing some snooping, and he also sent Grace Kelly over to the apartment. Okay, let's be real. That was tense as fuck.
That was
super tense.
And again, I'm not saying that the idea of the movie is really good. There is so much quality within, but it was so slow, and then all the best parts were summarized. What's really funny?
What do you mean?
Well, here's what happens. Jimmy gets dangled out the window.
Great.
And then they run over to grab him.
I'm going to break your leg. It's like,
when he falls out the window, and like just that scene alone of like the quote unquote CGI of him falling is so bad, but very funny for the 1950s.
Well, it's not funny for the 1950s. It's realistic for the night. I don't mean to be an asshole and correct.
I
like,
hear you.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Well, it's done well in the 1950s, but it was so startling from movies and TV that I've seen that I busted out laughing when I saw that. I immediately snapped and laughed uncontrollably. I was like, "Oh my god!" I
think they did the traditional Hitchcock focus pull. Or what do they call it? Oh my god, I'm already forgetting the technique. But
I didn't go to film school, bro.
I know, and I'm forgetting this. But it's a thing where you, it's not that you pull focus. It's a Hitchcockian thing. So if you watch Vertigo, he does the exact same thing. Okay. When the guy is looking down a bell tower, is like it moves the person that's on the focal point. And it
makes them smaller.
And it distorts everything around it, and it like makes it change, which he did when he was falling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so he does that like a lot. That's like his thing, and it was very innovative at the time.
I'm sure. I think that's cool for the time.
Yeah.
But so he dangles him, he drops him. As soon as he hits the ground and people are like there to catch him and talk to him, it is in the movie. It is probably 30 seconds movie time. So not what you're watching. 30, maybe a minute movie time. And the police officer, hangs out the window and tells you all the details of what the guy did. Like, the guy who murdered his wife put up no fight. He was like confessing rapid speed to the cops so that the cops could relay to you, the audience, and to Jimmy, all the things that he did wrong.
I didn't think about that.
It's like, there is like a minute.
He didn't demand a lawyer.
No, there's a minute movie time, and he's like, yeah, he actually buried her there, and then he had to dig her up because the dogs was sniffing, and then had to move her somewhere else. And you were right about the wedding ring, because the wedding ring was a sign that he wasn't thinking about. But once Grace Kelly got the ring, that was when he knew it was all over. There's this like whole monologue that the police officer has, and you as the audience member, or at least for me, I thought, come on, man. The guy is like a ruthless killer. Killed his own wife. Buried her and removed her. And had all these things in place. He strangled a dog, and yet what? He confesses right away. All the specifics.
As soon as a police officer raises an eyebrow, he breaks.
Yeah, it's just, that is so hard to believe. And I thought, man, Hitchcock could have milked that last 30 minutes of the movie for an hour, and he could have made the movie an hour and a half, give a little bit of that rising action, a little bit of slowness, but then started the actual action for that hour and played that dynamic out. He just rushed. I felt like he rushed all the best parts, all the parts that the audience member is actually like on the edge of their seat for and could hang on a little bit more. Rushed in such a quick amount of time. The falling action was, I looked at, because I downloaded the movie offline, I was looking at how much is left in the movie as when he's getting like about dangled, because I laughed, I just checked. It was like 2 minutes before the movie is done. No credits, just done. I thought, how are they wrapping this up in 2 minutes? And then sure enough, police officer out the window, spills all the beans, explains everything. That to me, again, it docked at a few points.
So what do you think? Do you think the movie would have very much changed if it went your route? You know, part of what Hitchcock was trying to do is the mystery, the tension, the idea of being isolated, and you're the one who believes. He's trying to give the viewer the feeling that you're alone in what you're seeing, and you can't move. And so it's like, you know the truth and there's nothing you can do about it, and you might actually die if you like end up going forward with this truth. That would have probably never happened if it went your route.
No, I think
it would have been a different kind of movie, I think.
No, I think it still did, because there's a couple of points where he didn't, you didn't even know as the viewer if that guy was actually guilty, which I think is interesting. I like that too, but there were points where he just didn't milk. So the very beginning of the movie, everybody from his girlfriend to the housekeeper who's cleaning him and whatnot are like, you're completely crazy.
First of all, she shits on him a lot, which I was a fan of.
The girlfriend and the housekeeper.
The housekeeper. She's like, fuck this dude. Yeah, and I'm like, we're the housekeeper.
I agree. I felt like I could connect with her probably the most.
Yeah, she was the most relatable to me.
So at first they're like completely against him, not on his page.
Yeah.
Not with his perspective. And then there's like a turning point, and it happens again in like a few seconds where he's stating his assumptions about this guy, and then the girlfriend is over and they're like, okay, tell me everything from the very beginning. She goes from, you're crazy, you're obsessed, like get those binoculars away, to tell me everything from the very beginning of what you saw. And I just thought, okay, instead of dragging out the feeling like this guy's crazy and that nobody believes him, and making it this super quick turn into now she's on his side significantly enough where she's willing to like risk her life and go into his apartment, slip that letter under his door. I thought, just draw that out a little bit more. Just cut the fat from the beginning. Make that scene where he is convincing her a little bit longer. That's dramatic and interesting and is meaningful. And then slowly build her like willingness to explore. Give her own like insights. But you don't even see the housekeeper change her perspective. She's like, you're crazy. And then after the girlfriend is convinced, next
She
next
goes
time you
over
see
too.
next time you see the housekeeper, she's like, oh,
like,
I'm on the same exact page. He's a total psycho. Like, let's do whatever
Let
we
me
can
climb
to
up the
tell.
dog rope basket
Exactly.
myself.
So it was those moments where I just felt like, dude, Hitchcock, you've wasted a lot of time like just belaboring a point that I get. You could do that in a few minutes. Don't waste 30 minutes building this case that this guy's alone and that nobody believes him. A little bit less. Then make the transitions a little bit longer. His transitions transitions are very, very quick from the perspective that people hold. It shifts almost instantly. Just like, again, the greatest example of like the killer being ruthless enough to kill his own wife and to go through all this process to confessing to the cop at like
Immediately
the raise of an eyebrow.
That cop raised an eyebrow and he's like, okay, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah. I buried her. I dug her up because the dog was sniffing. Then I strangled the dog. And I was also concerned about the wedding ring.
And this was my wife, by the way.
Exactly.
But as soon as you gave me a bad look, I broke.
Exactly. Well, what a weak killer, man. Truly. You call yourself a killer? That's shameful.
Yeah.
So.
And, okay, so have you seen Disturbia?
No.
Okay. Disturbia is
I've
modern...
heard the song Disturbia by Rihanna. Yeah.
No relation,
Okay.
which is interesting. I
Fair.
really thought that that would correlate with the movie, and it has nothing to do with it.
She doesn't
which
have a
is
line about
upsetting.
Alfred Hitchcock?
She has no line about Shia LaBeouf or Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
But Shia LaBeouf starred in the modern day remake of Rear Window, which is called Disturbia.
Really?
Yeah, so if you watch Disturbia, that is a remake, but it's different. It's incredibly different, but it's the exact same thing. So he gets put on house arrest in the suburbs, Disturbia, and he has to watch his neighbor do some messed up stuff, and it happens to his wife. But there's way more camera stuff, like of the killer and everything you're describing.
You know the killer is actually evil?
No,
Oh.
you don't, but they still follow, like it shows him trying to follow him and trying to figure him out, and also like his friend.
Do you connect with certain characters a little bit easier?
The critique you have, I think, is actually more like you're saying that he belabored the point that he's alone and he's in his apartment, right? With Shia LaBeouf's movie Disturbia, I don't think they belabor that. I think they more so show, like they show him out. You know how it shows like him going out on the town, or like in the movie, like it implies that he leaves and he goes to like a hotel.
Who?
The killer.
Oh,
because
yeah,
he
yeah,
calls
yes.
and he's like, hey, by the way, like I
Yes.
know it's you. Go meet me at this hotel. And then Grace Kelly goes in. Disturbia, it'll like show him leaving and like where he's at, and then it'll cut between.
Yeah, you only get the one scene of the apartment where, what's his name again? The main character, Jimmy.
Jimmy Stewart it's his character.
Okay, I know that's the actor.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you get either Jimmy's apartment or the view of that rear window. That's it. The whole movie.
Yeah.
You don't see any other like close up inside the killer's apartment or anything. It takes place entirely. I guess there's a couple of scenes from the garden in that like courtyard area, but
Yeah.
primarily his apartment and looking out that rear window, which I think that's kind of cool to play just those angles. But maybe it's harder back in the 50s, but
I mean,
you're
they
saying
did Lawrence
Disturbia
of
was a
Arabia.
little bit different. Disturbia,
Yes.
they get a lot more camera angles and more scenery and things like that.
So it's not really a question of like, oh, we're not going to do something better because it's more difficult or something. I think the question is, are they doing it for a purpose? And I think, so for example, Disturbia is not in the AFI Top 100, even though it's done. You would probably agree that Disturbia is more enjoyable when they're fleshing out that idea. Like
Probably.
they filmed Lawrence of Arabia, I think, in the 50s, which is a huge mass scale like movie. They filmed Singing in the Rain, a lot more complicated than Rear Window, you would say. Okay. So there's definitely, so they could do it. They could do it, but Hitchcock decided not to. And so I think the reason this is good is Hitchcock has this very famous quote where he says, tension means that the audience knows that there's a bomb underneath the table, but the two characters they're watching over that are sitting at the table don't.
Okay.
And that's the tension. And so part of it is like entrenching you in the perspective of being isolated and alone and not moving from that. So you're always like, I'm feeling paranoid. I feel like I can't leave. I feel like I know, but I can't talk. And so part of the reason I think he chose to do this, even though he could make a huge production out of it, and why I think Disturbia fails is because you do not get the same feeling as Rear Window where you are stuck. And that's what Hitchcock is trying to do. He's like, you are stuck. I understand you want to see him at the hotel, but you can't. You're stuck. And so part of and you might not like that, but at least at the time,
no, I can actually appreciate that quality.
Yeah,
I think more of my issues are with how belabored the rising action is. It's very, very long and boring, and can be summed up. There's so much fat that could be trimmed, and then I get upset about how late in the movie the climax hits and how quick the falling action is. That to me is where I think that improvements could be made. The transitions from perspectives could be longer and more compelling, and the character is not compelling. The main character, Jimmy's character, is not compelling at all.
Yeah,
that's where I think that
he was accused of being a peeping Tom by the caretaker.
Yeah, it's like that's not that compelling to me. I'm not in that same boat.
Yeah.
But if you could have flushed out, I mean, what could be more compelling is this, like more shots of Jimmy alone, not just peering out the window and seeing what he sees, but
turmoil.
Yeah, the turmoil and like maybe the boredom and the pain that he feels of being stuck in this situation with his broken leg. There could be more focusing in on of like him struggling to like get a cup of coffee and him struggling to like make food or to like put himself to bed. There could be things that could give you feelings of.
But he has a caretaker, so he's not going to do much of that. But
there could be ways in which you start feeling like, man, this guy's in a tough spot, and that would be hard to be in his position. I never felt bad for him at all.
Yeah.
Even when he's being like approached to be killed, I'm like, I still don't feel that bad.
I'm like, man, well, I empathized where I'm like, oh shit, like, what is he, like, I was more curious, okay, how about this? Yeah, you're right. Maybe I didn't feel bad that he was going to die, but I was like, how is he going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And I was curious. I did feel tense where I'm like, oh shit. Like so the empathy, I guess, is more like I'm curious to see how he would do it, and I'm scared that if I was in that situation, I'd also be completely screwed.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where the empathy comes in. Not that I actually care about him as a character, but I more so care that if I broke my leg and my caretaker was gone and wait, where was Grace Kelly?
She was arrested at that point.
Oh, she was arrested? Oh, because she was in the apartment, the killer's apartment. So if my girlfriend wasn't there or whatever, like, I would be scared that I'm alone and the killer is looking at me, that I've been snooping on and trying to screw over.
That
a cool is terrifying. That's cool. That's genuinely fucking scary.
It's scary.
So
it's cool. It's good for movies.
Yeah.
I like that part, but he didn't do a good enough job building my connection with Jimmy Stewart's character that I felt compassion for him. There wasn't much weakness that Jimmy Stewart's character exhibited. He was like, he just felt.
How did he hurt his leg anyway?
You get the impression that he hurt it on the job shooting for like a race car event.
Okay.
And there's he doesn't do anything that is very compassionate. He's a jerk to his girlfriend,
who is probably like the numbered like top 5 most beautiful woman in the world at that point. He's just like, she likes me too much. I don't know. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to ruin this whole thing.
He's just
while she's trying to cook for me and do everything she can practically, I'm just going to ignore her.
It's true. It's not compelling.
Yeah.
I felt no compassion for him. He didn't show much like, I'm a broken person and I'm hurting in these ways. He
never got redeemed, yeah.
No.
If anything, you're more upset that the killer didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of hoping he'd die.
I kind of thought that'd be cool.
Yeah, like he
would
got
die.
this peeping Tom dude who's just an asshole actually got what he deserved.
Yeah, I would think that hopefully he would die and the killer himself would die or would be arrested. But yeah, it just Jimmy Stewart's character is he's just kind of hateable the whole movie. The way that he acts towards the housekeeper, towards his girlfriend, towards the detective, the way that he like carries himself, he's just like this curmudgeon, man.
You know what? It's just I agree, but what's great about Jimmy Stewart is if we were talking about It's a Wonderful Life, which is that Christmas movie where he's like the poor dad who like garners so much sympathy. It would be like if he was just the same exact character as he was from A Wonderful Life in this movie, this would wreck my heart. Yeah, that you would be dangling Jimmy Stewart from a It's a Wonderful Life out the window. This guy's such an asshole. I don't even care. But I guess like I don't know if it's like his acting or just the script, but like you can somehow make me truly just discard Jimmy Stewart in this movie as an asshole. And whereas It's a Wonderful Life, it's like this guy is the most precious, family man in the world. And I don't know. He needed to play that character for me to care about him in this movie.
Yeah, he didn't come off as like impoverished by any means. He didn't come off as weak or like helpless in any way.
This dad bod that
he was such a bloated character. Like he was bloated in life. Like he had a good life and was still unhappy. And that is not a compassionate, like that's not going to garner compassion from me.
No, you're a peeping Tom that had a dad bod that was getting changed by a caretaker who was also being cooked for by like one of the top 5 most beautiful women in the world. And you're just like, I hate my life. It's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he almost broke his leg, but I would have been happier if he actually died.
Yeah, I think I would have felt a little bit. I would have ranked this movie higher if he had died at the end.
Yes. Yeah, I would have been
strangled
happier.
to death.
Yep.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
Yeah. So did Hitchcock play any of the characters? Because I know that he typically likes to put himself in the movies.
Yes, I forget, but yes.
I was looking out for him, but I don't really.
I'm
feel
pretty
like
sure he was in there. I completely forget.
He wasn't the killer, was he? That wasn't Hitchcock. I didn't think so. I was like,
that was not him.
I was looking at him like, could that be Hitchcock?
I remember watching it and pointing it out.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, maybe a neighbor then, or
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was in there. He had his cameo.
Yeah, and like, okay.
I forget, but he was there.
There's a couple like B plots, like the neighbor downstairs who pretends to be like have like a boyfriend and then threatens or like potentially goes to like overdose and kill herself.
That was awesome. So
that was awesome. I thought that was like
that was the more emotional part for me. That neighbor? I wanted her to succeed so badly.
I didn't really feel anything.
Really?
I just felt like, what are we doing? We're getting away from the plot here.
Oh, no.
It didn't tie in any way.
I was so happy.
Actually, it did tie in on the end because he called the police because he was thinking that she was going to OD, and then the music stopped her, but he was on the phone with the police so that he could say, okay, come over to this apartment. This woman is being,
the guy, she had like a one night stand with the guy, and the guy she wouldn't put out for the guy.
Yeah,
that's and the guy like tried to beat her up because she wouldn't put out or something, whatever. Yeah, and oh my god, that was so sad. And he always commented on it, where it's like, oh, is sad lady still sad or whatever he used to say to.
That was strange. Yeah. Also, like then at the end, she gets redeemed by the music, and then like her and the music guy are connecting.
Oh, that was so awesome! That made the movie for me.
It didn't make the movie for me.
If they didn't have her connecting with the music guy, because the music guy put on all the parties for people, and then like it seemed like he was like a tertiary character, like just kind of a throwaway. Whereas like the main focus was the ballerina, and then all the people he'd play music for. And then he'd be left. So kind of like he's being used all the time, she's being used all the time, and then it's like, oh my God, we don't have to be used all the time. We can cherish each other. That was
Wow, that's really reading into it. But
maybe
I'll give
it
it
was,
to you.
but that's what I felt. And,
Well,
and I was like, I really enjoyed that part of the movie, actually. That B plot. There's tons of B. This is a movie full of B plots.
The other B plot, which I thought was quite interesting.
Dog being strangled.
Well, the dog family, that they slept outside on that little, like, balcony or like a fire escape.
Yeah.
I thought that was very odd that you would choose to sleep outside like that. I mean, I get it. Maybe because you have no AC, it's cooler, and maybe you're under the stars or whatever. But I just thought that was kind of an odd thing. So when it was raining and they'd take the bed in, I thought that was kind of funny and interesting.
Yeah.
But I thought, wait, does he live in the other room and she lives in the other room? Like, are they dating? And because they have like 2 apartments that connect to that one fire escape, and that's where they're putting their bed. Maybe they're just, both living their own separate lives and just kind of dating and kind of cohabitating, and this is like the common ground because the fire escape links their apartment windows. That was like an interesting thing that I thought about and I recognized, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a strange. As soon as I saw them sleeping outside, I thought, okay, come on now, the rain in New York, you're gonna get it periodically. Like that seems very foolish.
But
to
it
keep
was
your bed
hot.
outside.
It was super hot summer there.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair to note the lack of AC,
right?
And that's why they're having open windows, open blinds. You know, you got to cool off. So fair enough.
Yeah. So if you were to rank, okay, let's define cardinal variables here.
Okay.
Okay. So in the Grace Kelly, Jimmy Stewart relationship, what cardinal variables do they have?
Okay. I would say Grace Kelly has her attractiveness and her popularity. She could fall back on that because she could always pursue.
Was she a model or something? What the hell was she? I don't know
what she did. It was funny when they first link up, she says something like, she's describing how busy she had been. She's like, oh, I got a cocktail here with this people, and I got a cocktail here with those people.
She might be like a Kim Kardashian socialite type
very
kind
much
of
a
person.
socialite. That's kind of the vibe I got. So she could always fall back on her popularity and relationships.
Clearly not smart if she's waiting hand on foot with Jimmy Stewart.
No, dude.
Like she has some.
She is loose in the brain somewhere. He is a total freeloader. Goddamn hippie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what she can fall back on. For Jimmy, he just falls back on the fact that he's probably up there in his career. I mean, who else is that well compensated for taking photos? Like, he knows his stuff. Photography was probably not a thing that a lot of people knew about. He was good enough that he was shooting for a magazine and flying all over the world, living out of his backpack.
You probably got paid good money for that in those days because photography wasn't as well known.
No, and he had all the gear too. He had that long ass telescope. And he had the flash bulbs and stuff.
Of course.
So I know the guy's, he's probably paid pretty handsomely for the photos that he can deliver. So he's probably just a careerist at heart. The relationship falls apart. I'll just, pour into my career and take it from there and live out of my backpack and fly from country to country. That's probably his cardinal variable.
Okay.
What do you think?
So I didn't consider the fact that probably people in the 1950s weren't very well versed in photography. Mm. So in my imagination took me to, he had a inheritance of some sort, and that's why he's able to live in New York City. Mm. And he had a flabby man body. He wore.
Flabby.
I'm almost positive he wore the same pajamas every single day, so he had to have some type of bed sores or something. And
I'm sure, dude.
Yeah, and also
bed sore energy.
His personality was so horrible. I'm pretty sure
bad.
Grace Kelly and the caretaker tried to write their signatures on his little leg cast, and he's like, "Fuck you." Like, he could not be more unlikable, and not, like, I do not want to be around someone who is not only lonely, but is also pushing, he's like, I'm lonely and I'm going to push you away because I want to just look out of my binoculars at these people.
I agree.
I'm trying to understand any carnal variable that he has. I just don't get it. I do not understand.
Careerist, man.
I guess, but even so yeah, that's the one thing I guess I can see now is that people in the 1950s just didn't really understand photography, and he was a good photographer. Yeah. So he had that to fall back on.
Yeah.
But other than that, everybody in the world was better than him at everything. Like, even the killer, like, he was a bigger guy. Like, I don't know. Like, there's just nothing I can say that's good about Jimmy Stewart in this.
I cannot say anything good. I like the killer. I felt more compassion and connection with the killer than I did for him. An absolute murderer. And I was like, yeah, I'm on his side a little bit.
He's like, it's like every time like I see a dog getting lowered in a basket, I'm just like, that is kind of annoying.
Yeah. Come on now.
No.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought the detective also sucked, honestly. Like, I couldn't understand how judgmental he was when he came over and Jimmy had his girlfriend over. And he was making glances like he was judging them for being together. And Jimmy's response was also weird. He's like, what did he say? He said,
I completely forgot his character until you just mentioned it.
The director, the detective. Yeah. He made some weird comments, like implying that the landlord would be upset that she was staying over. And Jimmy was like, hey, basically like, stop judging me. Be careful, like, with what you think and what you say. I just thought that it was oddly tense. It didn't need to be tense. Why was that a big deal? He had his girlfriend over. They're dating. They're in a committed relationship. The fact that she's there and has her PJs and whatnot, like, is that really that big of a deal? Maybe in the 1950s.
In the 1950s, that was pretty insane. You're not married.
Yeah, that was maybe, it implied a little bit more. But the detective he was
remembering the detective.
And also, he had, for a detective, he had very bad intuition. He doubted Jimmy from the very beginning.
Even though Jimmy's has nothing to do except look into the killer's apartment and watch dogs being strangled.
It's like, okay, the detective he had no belief and trust in Jimmy. It just, for me, like, it further, like, broke down my hope in the government's ability maybe to handle crime and take care of situations accurately. It just teaches you as the viewer to be like,
paranoid.
Yeah, be paranoid and don't trust authority.
Right.
Yeah, the detective sucked, dude. So many characters just sucked. Just were so unrelatable.
I think everybody was great except Jimmy Stewart.
No, I think
everybody,
no.
Even the detective was not bad to me.
I thought the people I liked in order: Grace Kelly, murderer, woman that was going to kill herself.
Yep.
Piano player.
Wow.
Woman who lost her dog.
Yeah.
Boyfriend or husband of the woman who lost her dog.
Sleeping outside.
Dog. Housekeeper.
Yeah.
Detective. Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
That's it for me. That's the ranking of, like, the characters that I had some sort of, like, an affection for.
Yeah.
And even the very top, Grace Kelly, it was still low. My connection with her was probably 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Everybody else is below that.
Wow.
Jimmy's a 1.5.
Barely. Yeah.
I mean, I had
you can go
like
1.4.
Yeah. No, 1.4 I could push. 1.5 is honest.
Yeah.
1.4 is cynical.
Okay. So if I were to rank my people, it's definitely the woman who was lonely and was trying to find love. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is the strangled dog.
Yes.
Number three is Grace Kelly.
Okay.
Number four is the flower bed. Okay. Number five was the police officer at the end. He was just explaining everything.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good.
Forgot about him.
And I liked, yes, and the piano player was right below the police officer.
Fair.
Then the detective, because I just didn't like him. I feel like he was, I thought he was just like a bizarro Jimmy Stewart, but just on the opposite end.
I agree. Yeah.
And then I would say all the extras on the street that you can see through the alleyway from Jimmy's point of view. And then Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah. He's at the bottom, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was strange. So what would you rank this thing?
Okay. I would probably, I'll go a 6.
Really? Okay.
Solid 6.
Fair. I would say 5.5.
Yeah.
I would say it's a strong 5. Big 5. Strong 5 energy. But I would give it a 5.5 because, some of the tension at the end and some of the ideas are good. I think about 1950s. I think about it being parodied by The Simpsons. That has to mean it's quality. It's in AFI Top 100. Alfred Hitchcock. Like, I like elements of it, and I would give it a strong 5. 5.5 is me being like, okay, it's on the positive end of a movie, but it's not something I would recommend to somebody.
Okay.
I wouldn't probably watch it again fully. And it's something that I'd just rather, kind of quote and crap on a little bit. Oh, what's also funny was this. Her name, the girlfriend's name is Lisa.
Wait, how do you remember that?
Simpsons.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And you're sure?
Yeah, I remember hearing it today, watching it, and being like, "Oh my God, Lisa!" Yeah. I bet that also probably prompted them to do the Simpsons episode as a parody.
Okay.
But what's funny is
I'm glad we remembered that at the very end.
Yeah, the Simpsons episode, which is funny, it was probably 22 minutes in total, and the Rear Window parody part was probably 15 minutes of that 22 minutes, and that was sufficient. It's like it hit on all like the rising action, climax, falling action.
Yeah.
It just, and maybe that's harder. 1950s, he thinks of one idea. Alfred Hitchcock is like, what if somebody was stuck in their apartment and they were witnessing a murder? What would that be like? How would that feel? How could we expand that into a full movie? Right. I get that. That's a cool idea, and that's something. But it was almost 2 hours. 2 fucking hours. I just, it's hard for me to want to recommend that and place it in the top AFI 100.
So, okay.
I would say it's better than Bringing Up Baby.
Everything's better than that.
Yeah, that's
except
so far
African.
the lowest.
You have not seen African Queen.
Not. I have not.
I hate that movie, and I almost hate it more than Bringing Up Baby. But we'll talk. But
we will.
So this is a 6 for me, mainly because it puts you into a good perspective of what it's like to be alone, and also like incapacitated. And so you're going to see people's lives. You're going to be bored. Your mind's going to wander. And I actually loved that every time that the people he'd spy on, you would also be wondering, hey, what are they doing over there? And I love that Hitchcock was able to put you in that perspective. What I didn't like is that I feel like Hitchcock is trying to make me feel like a piece of shit, because if I was in Jimmy Stewart's position, would I just be just a big old piece of shit that's like a curmudgeon? And that is what I didn't like. Is like, I didn't like that he was so unlikable, and I'm like, if I was there, would I just be a grumpy person that's ungrateful for everything around me? And then would I just be interested in other people's lives to the point where it's kind of bizarre? And also, like, am I literally like, would I be a peeping Tom with a girlfriend, like Grace Kelly or whatever? I don't know. It's just like,
You'd hope not.
You'd hope not, I guess. But I just like, to me, it's more, if you made Jimmy Stewart's, like if I cared about Jimmy Stewart, I would probably rate this higher. I again, the thing that I like the most is that he puts you in a position of like, you're vulnerable, you're alone. You're not really alone, but you're incapacitated. And I think maybe part of the thing that Hitchcock was trying to do is make you feel like more paranoia, intense, because you're like, oh my God, he's pushing away the people that care about him. And he can't do that because he's going to keep making himself more vulnerable to stuff. Maybe Hitchcock was trying to do that. I don't know, but I wish he made him more likable. Yeah, so it's a 6 for me because I love the way he's able to put you into his perspective. So,
well, although I disagree, I think it's more of a 5.5.
It's not.
I respect it.
Yeah, you don't disagree too much.
Yeah, 0.5. I disagree heavily. It's not a 6.
Yeah,
a 5.5 max.
Yeah,
I don't see 6 in the future.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but you
and it influenced Disturbia and The Simpsons, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I know that's bringing it 0.5%.
Yeah. The Simpsons, yeah, that's
The Simpsons, yeah, big time. Unfortunately, yeah, I mean, they could have played up the paranoia aspect of Jimmy Stewart, of his character.
It would have been a 7 if they showed him falling down and actually breaking his other leg.
Yeah, like give me some background. I would have given
a full point to that.
I know, like come on, give me a little bit of like a rushed background of how he got to where he was. Yeah. And here's the other thing I thought. Like, well, I think I probably already said this, but don't let him be able to see so closely from his own apartment. Make him put binoculars. Make him put the camera lens to his eye to see that far. Don't give us the audience like he's just, strolling past his window and he sees this close and this intimately into someone else's life.
Then he puts his binoculars on and you can see like their molecular DNA structures. Like that's how close he is.
Exactly. That for me.
That actually does like fuck everything up because it's like. It almost makes it seem like all these people loved being watched.
Yes.
Because it's impossible
weird.
not to notice the fucking dude who hasn't changed his pajamas in like a week with big ass binoculars from 60 feet away.
You can't miss that. No.
You can't miss it. So, like, especially the people sleeping outside, like, you're never saying you turned your head to the left and saw this dude just fucking scoping.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Or you're just like, hey, New York City. This is just that dude.
And I don't know New York City in the 1950s, so maybe that is what it is.
Maybe just people have their binoculars out, and then people are like, I don't give a shit. You can watch me do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, even
when they would close the blinds, you could still see the blinds. It's like, come on now.
It's like why are you closing the blinds?
No privacy.
Yeah, it's like, you know that dude with the binoculars is fucking looking at you. If anything, he's looking harder.
Exactly. Yeah. He's peering through the slits between those between the blinds.
Yeah.
So, Alfred, come on, man. Good idea. Execution was not great. It could have been better.
It could have been
better.
We
should get Alfred on the pod, dude.
Yeah, let's see what he's doing. Let's see if he's in. I'm not going to go there. Let's see if I'm not going to go
there. Are any of his other movies on the 100?
Yeah, North by Northwest and Vertigo.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about The Raven?
What? The Birds,
kidding.
You mean?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, you say The Raven because it's like, no, like Edgar Allan Poe is also, it's, I don't know. It's a stupid joke.
It's funny to some people.
Yeah, it's, I will say this thing about Alfred. I think I saw on YouTube somebody talking about his movies and the way that he really explored cinema. I loved this one clip on YouTube more than the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that was, he took one video of himself laughing, like smiling and laughing, like appreciatively. Yeah. Like it was sensitive. And what he did was he put first a little short clip of a baby sitting and playing, and then his clip of him smiling and laughing. And you're like, oh wow, like he's affectionate.
He has a childlike.
And then you replace that clip of the baby with a woman sunbathing. And then you put his same clip of him smiling and laughing, and it's really perverted and very weird.
Really?
Yeah, you feel like, ooh, come on, man. Like that's that's weird. And that
he did that.
Yeah, he was doing that to basically show juxtaposition. When you take one clip and you put it after a certain clip, it makes you feel something, even though the clip is exactly the same. And I thought, okay, there's a lot of genius in the way that
context.
Yeah, that he manipulated.
He's great at context,
filmography or context, or he pushed the boundaries and explored things. And I think he's a genius for that. But I just had higher hopes going into Rear Window.
Well, that's why it's that's why it's on the AFI Top 100, because context. He's able to put you into his perspective, which is why I'm giving it a 6, even though I hated some of it.
Yeah. Well, let's cap it right there. You guys, thank you for hanging with us. We're progressing into episode 8. We got 2 more episodes.
And then we'll start inviting other people on.
Episodes 8, well, I guess 3 episodes. Episode 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
And then we're done with season 1. And then season 2 is all going to be third-party guests.
Yes, I think, as far as we know.
Yes. And hopefully we'll get Tim England on. We'll see, Tim.
Tim?
You let us know.
Yeah, Tin England.
Tin England. No M.
Yeah.
T-I-N.
Yeah.
All right.
What time do they close at night? 9 o'clock, so no one's going to be clean finished. That's nice. Okay. All right, sweet. Thank you. All right. Bye.
That was